Have you talked to Megan since?
I have not.
Do you think you should interview her?
Let's get them both in front of a camera. I have a few supplementary questions. First question would be, so let me get this straight. The royal family Prince Harry writes his book, full of incendiary claims and allegations. Do you know the two things that he didn't put in the book? The racism and the mental health stuff. It was like it never happened. And when he got asked about the racism, he said, oh, that was a media invention. So my first question would be, what happened to those claims? I think the damage those two have done to the royal family has been incalculable.
Tonight, a storm Netflix didn't see coming. A shiny new hit rockets into the top 10. Then within just 48 hours, it slips, stalls, and suddenly everyone's asking the same question. What went wrong? Enter Piers Morgan, who slams the hype and flips the narrative in one swing. Was that the match that lit the fuse? Or merely the moment the mask slipped? Quick pulse check. Was the backlash earned or engineered? Type it. Your read matters because it tells us whether we're seeing genuine viewer fatigue or a coordinated pile-on. And if you think this was organic, wait until you hear how fast the doubt spread once one clip started trending. Here's the bombshell. The instant Piers called out the hype bubble, momentum flatlined. Correlation isn't causation, but in the next moments, I'm mapping the exact timeline that explains why millions hovered over the stop button. Keep listening, because I'm about to lay out 3 talking points that dominated the backlash, and number 3 changes how you look at that top 10 badge forever. First, the exposer. Whether you love him or loathe him, Piers speaks in headlines. One sharp critique, a soundbite built for virality, and suddenly the conversation shifts from must-watch to maybe not. Second, the promise. The trailer teased revelations, stakes, a payoff you could feel. But early viewers noticed a glaring inconsistency, an edit in episode 2 that didn't add up, sparking rewinds, screenshots, and a flood of skeptical comments that traveled faster than the trailer ever did. So, did Piers push it over the edge or just say what millions were already thinking? Decide now. Because next, I'm pulling the receipts from that 48-hour window, the curve, the chatter, and the pressure point Netflix hoped you'd miss. Stay with me, set a timer for 48 hours, because this is how fast a hit can wobble when the story shifts. At launch, curiosity...
The royal family were racist about the skin color of your unborn baby. This is what you said to Oprah Winfrey. And they also were so disgustingly callous that a senior member of the Buckingham Palace team told you, Meghan, you couldn't get help for having suicidal thoughts, even though your husband was a figurehead for a mental health charity. These are 2 unbelievable claims. I mean, shocking, horrific. If those things are true, the whole royal family should be disbanded. The monarchy should end. An odd thing happened. Prince Philip was dying, and then the Queen was dying. The fact that King Charles has cancer now and doesn't speak to his son, all of it is horrendous. And here they are, over here in California, running around using their royal titles to make millions of dollars. And it's sickening.
Hour 24. The Echo. Reaction channels pick up the thread. Microclips flood feeds, and skepticism spreads faster than the trailer ever did. The conversation moves from what is promised to what is proven. Hour 36. The Stitch. Side-by-side comparisons appear, timelines get questioned, and casual viewers turn into auditors. Curiosity still drives clicks, but completion craters. Hour 48. The Slide. The tile loses heat, the badge rotates to fresher titles, and the chatter outpaces the episodes. Next, the 3 talking points that fueled this backlash and the pressure point the badge hides from you. Stay with me. First, promise versus payoff. The trailer whispered revelations and resolution. Viewers sat down expecting answers, not a maze. When episode 1 set the stakes high and episode 2 reset them lower, people felt strung along. That feeling is lethal. If you felt the trailer sold a different show than you watched, type mismatch. If you felt it delivered, type delivered. Second, credibility wobbles. Sharp-eyed viewers flagged a continuity hiccup in the mid-episode sequence. A timeline mention here, a visual detail there, and suddenly the conversation turned forensic. Screenshots, rewinds, side-by-sides. Once trust is questioned, every cut looks suspicious. Did you spot something off, or did the chatter make you see it? Comment spotted or influenced. Third, the badge problem. The top 10 label is a spark, not a verdict. It measures heat, not happiness. A show can be propelled by curiosity, headlines, or a celebrity name, then hit a wall when completion drops. In other words, top 10 means lots of people pressed play, not that lots of people stayed. If you've ever clicked because of the badge and bounced in minutes, say guilty. That's how a hit can look unshakable on day 1 and feel fragile by day 2. Now layer Piers on top of this. He didn't invent the doubts. He amplified them. He compressed a week's worth of murmurs into one quotable line, and the algorithm did the rest. If his critique was your first nudge to pause, type Piers. If you were already cooling, type cooling. Your comments tell us whether influence led or followed. Here's the kicker. Once doubt becomes the culture around a show, fun becomes homework. People watch defensively, not delightfully. They stop sharing enthusiastic texts and start sending warnings. That feedback loop is brutal and fast. Next, let's follow the money and the mechanics. What happens behind the curtain when the momentum graph bends south this quickly? Start with the algorithm. Day 1, it spotlights the show because starts are strong. Day 2, watch time sags and completion thins, and recommendations quietly rebalance. Your home row changes. New tiles crowd in. That is the slide you can't see, only feel. If your row swapped it out within 2 days, drop disappeared. Now the boardroom. Marketing asks whether to keep pushing or pull spend. PR drafts talking points about strong engagement while privately asking editorial to surface other wins. Social teams chase a new angle, a softer clip, a relatable meme. If you notice the edit of promotional snippets shifting tone midweek, comment, shift, contracts and creatives feel the tremor next. Talent expects a victory lap. Instead, they get briefing notes. Interviews are tightened, tricky topics sidelined. If the show is a franchise seed, executives reconsider spin-offs, international cuts, or bonus episodes to address concerns. That's corporate for plug the leak. Then there's the AVOD reality. With ad-supported tiers in the mix, completion time doesn't just signal satisfaction. It prices inventory. Low finish rates can press down the value of those mid-rolls. That is why a 48-hour slide triggers real conversations. Not gossip. Dollars. Now the reputational layer. Netflix can absorb a stumble, but repeated stumbles dent the sheen of the badge. Viewers grow badge literate and suspicious, and the brand has to work harder to re-earn impulse clicks. If you now treat top 10 as a starting point, not a stamp of quality, type skeptical. And the culture. Piers thrives in these moments because he offers certainty when a show offers ambiguity. He picks a pressure point, hammers it, and invites you to agree or argue. Either way, the clip travels. The show, meanwhile, has to fix the narrative without looking defensive. That is almost impossible on a 24-hour social clock. Here's where you come in. Should platforms disclose more? Average completion, median drop point, not just starts? Would that make you trust the badge again? If yes, type transparency. If no, type keep mystery. Your vote shapes the next section. Because we're about to test the counter case. What if the backlash missed the mark, and the show actually did something bold that deserved the friction? Stay with me. The counterpoint is next, and it may flip how you score this entire 48-hour freefall. Let's test the unpopular idea. Maybe the friction was earned in a good way. Some stories are built to slow burn, uncomfortable pauses, delayed payoffs, a reveal that only snaps into focus after episode 3. What looked like a continuity hiccup could be deliberate misdirection, the breadcrumb that pays off later. If a show challenges you, do you reward it or punish it? Type reward or punish. There's also timing. The 48-hour wobble might reflect release week noise more than failure. Competing premieres, a sports final, a celebrity scandal stealing attention. Starts can surge on marketing. Completions depend on mood and calendar. If you think timing, not quality, drove the slide, say timing, and credit where it's due, the show's craft. Strong cold opens, tight score, confident cinematography. If you watched with captions on, you caught the layered dialogue. Lines seeded to echo later. That isn't lazy. That's authorship. Maybe Piers' certainty felt satisfying precisely because the show refused to spoon-feed. Bold art often takes a punch before it lands a counter. If you're willing to give it 2 more episodes, drop 2 more. So here's the counter case. The badge problem made curiosity look like consensus. The critique compressed doubts into a headline, and the algorithm amplified certainty over nuance. Does that absolve the pacing hiccups? No, but it does remind us that discomfort isn't always a defect. It can be design. If you're in the camp that says let it cook, type let it cook, now snap back. If intention was genius, execution still has to land. Viewers shouldn't need a decoder ring to enjoy episode 2. Trust is a contract. Promise X, deliver X plus. When people feel baited, they bolt. That's not anti-intellectual, it's consumer clarity. If you felt the show owed clearer signposts earlier, Type signposts. Here's the clean verdict framework. 3 questions. Your yes, no in comments becomes the scorecard. 1. Did episode 1 pay off its own setup? 2. Did episode 2 add momentum, not just mystery? 3. Would you recommend it without caveats? If you're 2 or 3 no's, the critique stands. If you're 2 or 3 yeses, the counterpoint wins. Now the fix list. What would keep you seated? Shorter episode runtimes? A mid-season recap card? Transparent episode notes when timelines are non-linear? If any of these would help, type runtime, recap, or notes. Creators watch these threads. Your signal cuts through. As for Piers, here's the media literacy moment. His SLAM works because it packages a feeling we couldn't articulate. The challenge for Netflix is to build shows that survive that packaging, stories so coherent that a single soundbite can't topple them. If you think that starts with greenlighting fewer, sharper projects, type sharper. Tease for what's next. I'm pulling the week 2 data patterns that reveal whether this slide was a blip or a true collapse. Median drop points, episode by episode decay, and the tile reheat tactics platforms use to revive a wobbling hit. I'm also tracking a rumored editorial note that could address the timeline confusion head-on. If you want that breakdown, type data, and if you want me to dissect the next high-profile stumble, same rules. Same receipts, type next final nudge, cast your verdict with one word, keep, fix, or drop. Your vote tells the story the algorithm can't, not just what we watch, but why we stay. Reinforcement and tasteful humor. The badge, the binge, and the uncle test. Let's lock in the lesson with a smile and a scalpel. The badge gets you to press play. The story keeps you from pressing stop. Simple rule, easily broken. So here's the uncle test. Imagine your brutally honest relative with the remote, cardigan half-zipped, 0 patience. Would he finish episode 2 without a single eye roll? If yes, the show's bulletproof. If no, the algorithm can't save it. Type uncle if you know exactly who I mean. Second, the binge tax. Every minute a show makes you rewind to decode a timeline is a minute it spends goodwill. 1 or 2 rewinds feel clever. 5 rewinds feel like homework. If you paid that tax, type taxed. If not, type smooth third, the clip trap. Social takes reward certainty. Piers trades in convictions. Art trades in ambiguity. When a clip converts nuance into a rallying cry, the conversation tilts. That doesn't mean the show failed, but it does mean the show must now perform under stadium lights. If you felt the discourse got louder than the episodes, type louder. Now, a little palate cleanser. You know the friend who insists, it gets amazing in episode 4? That friend owes back pay for your time. Drop EP4 IOU if you've been burned by that promise. It's funny because it's true, and because platforms bank on that optimism. The fix isn't to cancel curiosity. It's to sharpen episode 1s and 2s until even your most skeptical relative leans forward. Reinforce the core. Trust, pacing, clarity. Trust is the invisible contract. Pacing is the delivery schedule. Clarity is the courtesy. Get those 3 right, and even a Piers-sized slam becomes free marketing. Get them wrong, and a 48-hour wobble becomes a 10-day exodus. Before we close, your rapid-fire vote, no overthinking. Which lever matters most right now? Trust, pacing, or clarity? Type it. Your answers shape the next breakdown I'm preparing, because we're about to chase hard numbers and real tactics, not vibes. And yes, there's a rumored internal note about that episode 2 sequence. If it exists, it changes the temperature of this entire debate. Tease, next steps, and the final word. Here's what's coming next if you want the full picture. I'm pulling week 2 signatures that separate a blip from a collapse. Median drop point per episode. Recovery curves after PR pivots. And the tile reheat moves platforms quietly test. New thumbnails, reordered rows, celebrity quote cards, and algorithmic nudges that try to win back your second look. If you want that deep dive, type data. If you want me to road test this framework on another headline-grabbing series, same 48-hour lens, same receipts, type next. Your action items, quick and clean. 1. Verdict in one word. Keep, fix, or drop. 2. The fix list. Runtime, recap, notes, or sharper. 3. Tell me if you watched on mobile or TV by typing mobile or TV. Device context changes binge behavior, and I'm factoring that into the analysis. Now the big tease. I'm hearing chatter about an editorial annotation that may appear before episode 3, a small on-screen nudge clarifying the timeline that triggered the continuity hunt. If that rolls out, it's a quiet admission and a smart bandage. Want me to track it and show before-after completion deltas? Type track, and the final word you can take into every top 10 tile. Hype is a spark, but habit is the fire. Piers Morgan can slam. Critics can swarm. But if a show respects your time in the first 2 episodes, if it honors the promise it sold, you'll finish, share, and defend it. That's the only metric that survives the news cycle. If this breakdown earned your trust, hit follow, so the week 2 data lands right when it drops. Drop a like if the uncle test made you laugh, and share this with the friend who swears episode 4 is where it gets good. I'll see you in the comments with the live scorecard. Your votes decide the next investigation.